Morning. It's Friday, July 25th at 8:45. We're going to start the board meeting of the County Convention Facilities Development Corporation. Julie, if you can please call to order. Can we do the roll call?
Debbie Berry, Jeff Epstein, David Gilbert, Deb Janik, Majid McCloof,
Here.
Trevor McAleer,
Here.
Michael Obi. Michael Obi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Rashonda Smith.
Here.
And Alton Sinkert.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. We do have a quorum, Julie. Okay. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the April 25th, 2025 meeting. Do we have a motion on the floor?
So moved. It's Trevor.
I second Michael Obi.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. The minutes are approved. Do we have any general public comments?
No public comments.
Thank you very much. I'll turn it over to Tim for the executive director report.
Thanks, Majid. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here today. Running through a number of slides, Julie has the presentation here, just a 9-month overview of some of the things we've been working on at CCCFDC, continual operational review with ASM and Levy, focused on revenue generation and cost savings. On the revenue side, you will hear today how Levy and ASM have combined their resources to create a better selling strategy. And on the cost savings, you'll see our cash flow where there's been significant impact on the financials. For the cash flow, we continually report it to the executive committee and the treasurer on a monthly basis. As of the end of last month, we're in a positive cash situation, a little over $2 million in cash. The year end is improved significantly by about $1 million, where we traditionally end at a $3.1 million deficit. This year, it's a little over $2 million. So it's been a significant impact for multiple reasons that I'll let ASM talk about some of the details shortly. CapEx projects are ongoing. I'm going to share in a minute a couple of the projects that have been a little bit of a challenge for us from the Osborne building assessments. We're going to have to make some hard decisions in the next few months. I'll get that to you in a later slide. And continue to plan for long-term projects as far as where the building's going, what needs need to be adjusted and changed for our long-term success. On the CCCFDC office, again, we're working with a new IT company and we'll be doing a website development this quarter. And then identifying new opportunities to collaborate in the community with Destination Cleveland and the Lodging Association. Mike Campo and I are meeting with the Lodging Association next month to review their sales strategy and get the team up to date on everything there. Next slide, Julie. Here are the updates. The team is also working on the business plan for 2026. By early next month, we'll have the first look at an 18-month projection for the building, which will include revenues and expenses, and then we'll continue to work on a 5-year CapEx plan. It won't be the final budget. The final budgets will be submitted in October at the board meeting. But until then, at least we'll have an 18-month projection of the revenues and expenses. 2024 audit is ongoing. Thank you for all the responses and filling out the required documents. We'll update as we get more results on that part of it. And then from a sales overview, the team, again, looking at short-term needs, really focusing on manufacturing events, which we see as a great opportunity for multiple reasons. Our position in the market, number one, and the support that we have and the financial success we have from those type of organizations. IX Center has been a little bit of talk of the town, I guess you'd say. Still waiting on final details on the actual closure, if that's going to happen. The ASM team has been working with multiple organizations to try and accommodate them in the facility with the number one priority that we will take the business and work with them as long as it does not take away from our objectives, which is the long-term success of this building and the economic impact that we have on the community. Bigger project or bigger issue, I guess, going on that we'll talk about shortly. I've got Jeff here to talk about the renovation closeout. Next slide goes into some other 2025 projects. Board retreat is on our agenda, October 24th. It's a half-day meeting. I think everyone has already accepted that. We're going to change locations for the board meeting, and we're going to change location for the retreat to one of the meeting rooms in the building, and we'll send information out of that separately. We're working on a different portal for communication for the board. I've kind of put it on hold because it seems recently working, and so we're going to continue to look at that to see if we need to develop something down the road. Talked about the website development. We have new board members on board. And I'm working on a research project of a competition. Over the last number of months, Julie, if you want to pull that Excel sheet up, that'd be great. Over the last number of months, I've been visiting different markets. Majid and I were just talking about how that plays into the long-term strategy of the convention center facility. I will share this information in more detail at the board retreat. It's a little difficult to see from with my lenses, but these are the key cities that we've been really identifying as our competition. The Destination Cleveland uses this as target market that we compete with on a regular basis. Regionally, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Louisville, Indianapolis, St. Louis, Kansas City, I added on there for some different reasons. This document shows the number or the square footage of function space in the exhibit center compared to the other markets, and then also occupancy and ADR. We're truly holding our own, doing really well. Those, what I refer to as small convention centers under 500,000 square feet. ADR, we're doing okay. Some markets doing much better, but they've got other problems in those markets. Pittsburgh, as an example, is running a higher average rate in their hotels, but they're very dysfunctional market as far as coordination with the convention center and the hotels. Other cities, Indianapolis does a much better job on working the market. They do well in the rate. They do a lot of sporting events. They've got a lot more exhibit space, but they also have a lot of connected hotel rooms. Their hotels, they had a specific strategy. They have a long-term plan on how they would target different sporting events and build hotels that are connected to the convention center. So not an issue for the board to consider right now, but more information to come at the retreat. And again, I will share this as we get to in advance of the retreat, sharing the competition, and then also what I refer to as aspirational competition, bigger markets that are doing things a lot differently that we should be looking at as far as setting up this facility for long-term success. Julie, thank you for that. Again, all of that goes into play with, one of my bigger objectives of looking at the 5-year plan for the facility and the market as a whole as what we have, what we can impact. Okay. Moving on, Julie. I want to talk about the capital projects next. Kind of talk about it on a regular basis. These are the 2025 projects that are winding down. Okay, we had a lot of outstanding projects from past years that we've closed out. Thanks to Mike and his team really focusing on those efforts. As you can see on this slide, the bollards, we're almost there. We're at the final payment. I think we're about $400,000 left to be paid on that project. The bench seating on Lakeside with the Cleveland lettering has not been installed yet. They're in the final stages of manufacturing, and it should be in within the next, I'm hoping, 30 days. Bigger project here for us is the bird film. That is now complete. I've requested for the study to show the results of that bird film that was put in. They're not tracking it now until after next year. So I'm working with them closely, and they will share information as soon as it's available so we can determine exactly the results of putting the product on those windows. Okay. More importantly, next slide goes into capital projects that we had geared up for this year that we're working on. We initially had about $2 million capital funds that we had allocated, most specifically for the lighting conversion in the building. You can see in this document, I slowed that project down for a number of reasons because we needed to complete the building assessment review. That has been completed. And as you can see on this slide, there are 9-10 projects as a result of that have come in significantly higher than we expected. As an example, the loading dock bridge access, which is behind the Huntington garage that leads into the loading dock. We've got to do some support structural work and resurfacing there. First bid's coming in around $360,000. We met with the county and we're looking at options through the county to see if they can assist with those projects because they do a lot of that type of work. So we're kind of holding on that also. The only good news is that of all of these projects, none of them are in immediate need to be done. They're not structural, so we don't have any problems with that. But we want to identify a timeline to get these done. So we're currently working again with the county and other resources, figure out the next step of these projects. Smaller ones are done. We have a leak in the lower level under Hall A. That's been repaired, but more problems are developing on the waterfront, or the water side of it, leaking into the building. So I'm working through these. I've held up on all of these as we figure out what's the next step, but we're going to move forward with part of the lighting project. I've approved that we go ahead with spending about $600,000 on that project to get it started, and we will do that project in 3 phases. So we'll start it this year, and then over the next 2 years, we'll complete the project. That way we can start improving the facility from a lighting standpoint, getting that project going, and still managing these other projects as we see fit. So I'll continue to report on this in the board meetings, review with the executive committee, and update everyone electronically on any changes that happen as we go through the process.
Thank you. Any questions for Tim before we move? And I do have some questions, but I think they're better suited for the retreat. I'll turn it over to Jeff about the renovation closeout.
Thank you. We are at the end of the renovation project in this sense. We have submitted our final requisition for payment. With that payment, Turner, our contractor, will be 100% paid. Our consultants and others, 100% paid. There is substantial funds remaining in the account for 2 reasons. First of all, because the project did come in within budget, even after all of the improvements we made without alternates. And we had a good time frame to do this because of interest earnings. So now the process is, and I'm working with Bob France right now on this, who's here, but the process now is that we will, a calculation needs to be made of the arbitration, the arbitrage rebate, because we've made a lot of money, but there's essentially a tax that needs to be paid on those earnings with some pretty detailed calculations. Bob tells me this requires a lot of accountants with green visors to do. But what will happen is within a time frame, we're on the clock to do this, we will get a final calculation. All the money will come into our capital repair fund, and then within 60 days from that, we will be required to make a payment out of that money of the arbitrage tax, essentially within 60 days, and we will be concluded. There is some minor things that still have to be accomplished that Turner, by a side letter, has agreed to do. That is between us and them. It's minor in nature, has nothing to do with the fund, has nothing to do with payment. But the project is about to be complete.
Can you explain the 60-day? So what percent, I mean, what money specifically are we talking about? The entire money what payment has to be made within 60 days?
Bob is here, and Bob and I talk about this, but would you like to do the explanation of the calculation?
I mean, I guess, is this like the property exchange where you have 6 months?
No.
What are we talking about?
I'll tell you what it is. We are not permitted on interest. It's a limitation to how much we.
No, and I know they're restricted funds in the sense that they can only be used for.
No, not that. There's a limitation on how much we can earn.
Okay.
So what happens is, and every day that money is in that account, it earns interest, but every day there's a different amount of money in the account. So it's a complex calculation. But at the end of the day, the total amount that has been earned, the total amount there we will know. Then there is is essentially a tax calculation. we have to rebate back to the government any amount that we have earned, which is over a limitation as to what we're permitted to earn. And that calculation has to be done. And the way this works is we do get the money, but we have an agreement. We have to have an agreement to pay out of that money this arbitrage tax. And if you want more detail as to
Yeah.
any of that, there's Bob.
Okay. I'll ask, I don't want to hold up the meeting. I'm just trying to.
There's nothing like a good arbitrage conversation. Good morning.
If we can do it now, we can have it.
No, I just want to understand. I think it's the question of making a sort of, but I'll ask later, but okay.
Okay, the only thing I do want to tell you is when Bob was explaining how difficult this calculation is, I was asking whether ChatGPT could do it, and he said no,
No,
so.
you have to have a more specific. All right, any questions for Jeff other than calculations of arbitrage?
Jeff, I might have missed it, but how much is left due to strong budget management? Good
Let me say, there's going to be an amount of money that comes to us that's going to be in the vicinity of, give or take, it's $1 million, give or take, maybe a little more, maybe. And then there's this calculation, which I cannot get Bob to tell me how much is.
No,
Okay.
That's a long time life ago, but I get it.
Right.
And
You just gotta-
$1 million is manageable. More than that would have, you
Yeah,
know.
we just gotta figure out the process, make sure that the steps are done, the timing is done right.
And we're not going to have the same problem that others have had with this. Sure, well known.
If I just add one point for the entire board to understand, because if we're talking roughly $1 million coming to the organization, it's going to go into the capital funds for us to
Capital
use.
Fair Fund.
And it's needed because at this point with the projects that we have listed, we would end this year, if we did all of this, with about $250,000 left in the capital fund. So that $1 million is going to give us enough to manage through next year to continue moving forward with these projects without going back to the county.
No, I guess here's the real question that the reason why I pushed on this is, so the 60 days you have to be under contract. We do have
Yeah.
the wish list, if you wish, or I don't know if wish list is the right thing, but
Right.
we have the additional projects, the needs. So do we need any board action at some point to authorize the entry of contracts? How is that going to work? So when you're talking
Yeah.
in a board meeting, you do it by email. We'll talk about it later in an executive, but I just I'm trying to work out that we don't, by virtue of
Here's-
contracting procedure, we don't fall behind.
Here's what will occur. There will be, in the process of our getting the money, there will be an agreement, a document, an agreement that will be entered into, that will say that we get the money, we agree to pay the arbitrage tax, and we will work out on what that is. That can require a board action, because even though we'll be paying out a fraction of what we're getting in, it still is going to be something the board has to pay. So it will have a board action at that time, once we have that worked through.
That's what I want to make sure and the timeline when that happens, because is it something that the board would end up feeling comfortable authorizing by email, or is it going to call a special meeting, or is it going to call? I just don't want to get hung up on some of these expenditures because of getting the board to.
Payment or-
No, not the tax payment. The
That's-
For
project.
the projects,
Yeah.
because the projects are outside of the normal scope of construction projects.
Yeah.
But capital, and we will handle those as appropriate as we get to that.
No, I understand. The tax payment is a tax.
Right.
Okay.
We're not waiting for anything right now. We're still on the research side of those projects to figure out next steps.
And those funds while the funds will be needed, the time frame of when we get them versus when we're actually going to have to use them or not, there's no urgency.
Right.
That way. That's what you're asking.
We probably won't start any of those projects in 60 days or so. So assuming we.
No, but you have to have the contract for them, right?
We'll have to go through that process.
That's
yeah.
right.
I know it's my second meeting, so bear with me, please. I'm sorry. So the 600,000 lighting project that you wisely put on hold and said, let's assess
Right.
this. Is the $600,000 part of, well, how is that funded? Is that unrestricted funds or is that part of the,
That was part of the capital budget that was approved for this year.
what is it part of the source of funds that?
No.
And I,
Know where I'm, you know what
I
I'm.
want to make one point on
Ask
this.
a question because
Yeah,
before you make the point of my question, let me ask a question. Is there an opportunity if the LED qualifies as an expense, which I believe is under contract, and the resources that we're identifying that are coming in excess, if it's deemed a capital, couldn't we authorize the excess resources from the source for the capital renovations to pay for the lighting and release the unrestricted funds of the lighting into the assessment needs identified? Which might spend it faster, which would reduce that arbitrage risk. Is that possible, John?
I mean, the arbitrage is done. I mean, right now, because what's going to happen is oh, I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You're spending it faster, it's already under
You
contract.
can't,
If you know that
can't-
you're gonna spend money, you're using it from the capital fund,
the,
can we use these resources and then free up the capital?
here's the only problem with doing that. If you do that, and that's an interesting question. I don't know whether or not the original limitation on what the funds were for. Oh, you can't. I'll tell you why you can't. Because here's why you can't do it. And we should move on. That lighting project is not the lighting project within the expansion.
It's exterior.
It's well, it's not exterior. It's
Okay.
Original building.
The original building.
The answer is, once we get the funds and it goes into the capital repair account, it
Then
can
you
be
can
used
use it.
for anything.
Okay.
But we can't take the funds right now. We can't have an additional expenditure because that is not a project.
Confined to
within
the project
That's right.
definition. in the
That's why we
building.
can't do it.
Okay.
But thank you
done.
for making me think about that so early.
So it's, no, that's, with that, I was gonna say, I started it. With that, I'll turn it over to Tim to talk about the ceremony. It's not this Saturday, it's the Saturday after, right?
Next weekend, right?
Go ahead, yep, the August.
August 2nd. We're finally at a point of the unveiling of Superman, thankfully. Everyone's been invited. Look forward to seeing everyone at the event. On the slide here, just to clarify where we are in this. There's been a lot of questions on this. Siegel and Schuster went out to the public, talked about an event at 11 o'clock, between 11 and 1. We purposely wanted them to control that message and not talk about the 10 a.m. unveiling so that we could control it to an invitation to the event. So people that were invited to attend the event. We've worked through some things. Other people invited a lot of other people. It was not meant for that. It was an invited guest only. So we've got that under control now. We have roughly about 200 people that'll be here. We've asked guests to arrive between 9 and 9:45. We're going to have them meet in the ballroom. We'll do a light breakfast, coffee, meet and greet, get everyone organized. At 9:45, walk out onto the plaza. Ceremony is going to start promptly at 10 o'clock. We've got 5 speakers that we're working through that process. We're only doing seating for a limited number of people. We've got a number of guests who are elderly in the family of the Siegel and Schuster organization. So we want to restrict that, and everyone else will be standing room only. It should last no longer than about 30, 40 minutes at the latest, depending on how much people extend their talking points. So 10 o'clock, we'll start the ceremony. We'll go through the speeches. We'll do the official unveiling of all of the monumental statues. By 10:30 to 10:40, we should be done. It'll be over. Everyone can come back in. We've taken some steps to have Ontario Street closed right next to the facility so that in case we get a lot of people showing up, we have room to push them into the holding area in the street. We expect there'll be some people from the general public on the sidewalk. The plaza itself will be controlled with partitions so that it's only invited guests in the plaza. There's a lot of events going on in downtown that morning. There's a run that ends at about 9:30. There's yoga on the mall. There's an event in Public Square. So there could be a lot of the general public kind of hanging around watching this. On Monday, we're going to send out a press release to media confirming that the actual unveiling will be at 10 a.m. I expect at that point the news will get out or the word will get out. So we could see some people coming in for this. A lot of Superman fans out there. And so we're prepared for it, and we'll have off-duty police officers to control the crowd. It's a monumental day for the city, right? Whether you're a fan or not. At the end of the day, it's a good statue that will be iconically used as an iconic figure at the convention center with our logo in the background every time someone takes a picture. So we're working through some legal details of the imagery that we can use with approval on the trademark part of it. But other than that, we're in really good shape for this event. Teams put together a really nice morning. At 11:30 after the ceremony, Laura Siegel, who's actually the daughter of the creator, and her mom was the model for Lois Lane, is going to be speaking and talking about her history with Superman and the creation. So it's a big day for us. Looking forward to getting it done and behind us so we can move on to other business issues and stop talking about Superman.
And I just want to point out, I worked hard on this, even though I was a Marvel kid growing up and not a Superman kid growing up. That's what he's referring to.
Just to sort of make sure everybody, because I think you have tents on the mall, but people realize the entire event that is at Superman Plaza, we're not utilizing any part of the mall.
Nothing on the mall.
Nothing on the mall for if there's tents, it's for they're for other events, not this event.
Absolutely.
Number two, for board members or the parking, is there any?
Same parking as we do for board meetings. We'll have staff outside, so we reserved West Mall Drive, and we'll be using that for board members.
Any questions on this before we move on? Good. With that, I think we're starting a new format this time with both ASM and Levy doing the update together. So I'll turn it over to Mike and Jude to go through their presentation.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so we're having a good year. So year to date, let's talk a little bit about where we're at from a finance perspective. We've hosted through June 30th, 64 events. This is up from prior year at this time to 59. So we're up about 5. Gross revenue, so this is top line revenue flowing into the building, 10.8. That number, 700, better than last year at this time. So really strong coming out of the gates and continuing halfway through the year. Net operating income, 5.2. If you back out our indirect expenses, we're left with a $687,000 deficit. However, that is a $1.19 million, as Tim said, $1 million budget variance, favorable budget variance. So let's get into the next slide, a little bit more detail about the buckets that made up that 1.19. Net operating income's favorable. We were really able to drive revenue above budget expectations, primarily driven by food and beverage. Jude's going to get into that, particularly with AP Reading, which was just a phenomenal event for us. On the expense side, if we remember last time we were in here, we talked about uncertainties related to government funding. And as a response to that, we put in place certain expense mitigation efforts. And in reality, kind of our fears, knock on wood, have not materialized. Some of the events that we were worried about actually ended up performing better than we thought. And so as a result of that, we were able to really drive savings on the expense side. We also received a one-time ERTC payment. This is the Employee Retention Tax Credit, going back to kind of the pandemic era or part of the CARES Act. And so we received that in June. This was a ASM corporate-led initiative. We were able to get those funds and actually able to hit our bank account in June.
Is this the last year for that sort of
It is.
reimbursement that
Yep.
ends after 12/31?
That's right. Yep. So combination of those 3 buckets, that's what really drove us being able to get to that 1.19 favorable to variance number. So that's sorry.
Great job. I just have to say, I need to jump in, back a slide, Julie. Significant impact. I really want to congratulate Mike. He's finished 90 days in the role, focused on some key priorities for us, specifically looking at cost controls, which was a big part of it. I know there's a huge contribution that we noted in our financials because we won't see that again in the future. But again, they've made great strides on really controlling the expenses. So thank you. Good job.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, so that's kind of how we're going. It's halftime, right? So how are we going to do the rest of the year? And so our budget forecast and how we're going to perform year end is right about the same $1.1 million favorable to variance result. And it's important to note that is despite us losing the veterans event, which was our sole cancellation due to the government funding. And that was a $400,000 impact to the budget. So despite losing that key piece of business, we're still able to finish at about 1.1 is what we're forecasting now. So yeah, that is it for the finances, Jude.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In giving the Levy update, just wanted to mention that Mike and I are approaching this property from a unified front. People see us walking the spaces. They see us together, and our enhanced communication has led to great success. As I roll through the revenue breakdown, our gross revenue year to date through quarter two, 7.4 in gross. That's $800,000 better to budget. To give you a breakdown of how this is working out throughout Levy and the breakdown of the actual revenue centers, banquets and catering are a premium business. We're at 5.5 year-to-date actual versus a budget of 4.9, which is a variance of $556,000 to the good. Show concessions. We've seen an uptick in our show concessions, or what Levy calls restaurants and cafes. We're sitting at 1.2 to a budget of 994,000, showing an increase of 211,000. With show concessions and restaurants and cafes, there's a lot of risk involved with that because we're preparing food. We've really done our homework. We tap into the power of Levy. We check out all the other centers. We see what they do. We're looking at menu mix right down to the dollar, right down to what was produced. And it really helps us get sharp because the risk is strong. So we have to be very calculated as how we approach. We're also bringing in high quality subcontractors to help offset the things that we do best so that we can produce revenue for subcontractors and then make sure that we stick to our strong points. So it's a mix of that. It's not all of that. It's just a mix of that in order to increase our revenue. If we take a look at Starbucks, we're sitting at $457,000 to a budget of $551,000. So we split back a little bit at Starbucks. Some of this is show mix. Some of this is restricted access to the building throughout the AP reading event. For 2 weeks, really, we couldn't enter as freely as people would like, just because that was the parameters of AP reading, so forth. And some of it is this new approach and come back to Starbucks with the new CEO of Starbucks, Brian Nicole, his released porcelain drinkware in the cafes, and people can sit down and they can have a coffee and they can get another one for free. And then they're taking things like the caramel ribbon crunch frappe off the menu. So it doesn't lead as well for our show mix. However, I think we'll catch some back up here as really it's truly how the show works. Like the National Urban League was in Starbucks quite a bit. So as we continue to go down and see additional premium shows come back and play, also now without the restricted access, we'll see some additional play within Starbucks. Want to highlight Bagel Boulevard. We're sitting at $216,000 in revenue versus a budget of $90,000. We're up to $126,000 in Bagel Boulevard. Bagel Boulevard has been a strong player. We're trying to increase our per cap within Bagel Boulevard by offering different frozen beverages, different drinks that people can check out with. They become very popular. We're identifying that sweet is the answer. So Chef Sarah has used it as an outlet for creativity, making things like the French toast bagel. We're going to get some play off of the Superman, and we're going to be doing a Son of Bagel coming up so that we can sell all month long, which is a cinnamon bagel with a hot spicy chicken breast and a hot honey schmear. And it is going to be probably a number one seller as people come down and check out the statue, see Bagel Boulevard, come in. But the best compliments that we've got is people coming in going, where's the original one? Where did this start? Did this start in New York? This place is cool. So we wanted to keep the edge. We wanted to keep it fun. We wanted to keep it something you wouldn't find inside a convention center. We consider ourselves an unconventional convention center. So if we look at that breakdown, we're sitting at gross revenue 7.4 as a budget to 6.6, up 800,000 to budget.
Couple of questions in terms of
Sure.
Has some of the coffee business from Starbucks moved over to Bagel Boulevard? If you're going to be there for a sandwich and getting your coffee, probably just get it from there as opposed to next door. Is that happening?
It has a bit, Najee, absolutely. And it is the customers that just want the black coffee, and we're able to move that faster. So we're seeing increased throughput. So we may not see as much brewed Pike's Place at Starbucks for somebody that's waiting in a big long line, but we've also been receiving lots of comments on our Change Please coffee, which is a coffee that supports homelessness with all of its profits. So people like the story, they like the coffee. So people have been coming back for that. We'll sell coffee all day long.
And then these numbers are gross.
Correct.
If you were to look at net in terms of, so how much do we net out of Starbucks, or how much do we net out of big food carts?
Being that this is all rolled into the ASM P&L, as it all flows through, I could come back to you with those numbers. I don't have those.
I'm just curious what the return is on.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead.
I have the answer for that. Our net food and beverage activity, we're all in, all we've activity, we're up 240K versus budget. Our percentage-based throughput is right around 30%, and through 6 months, our budget was at 30%. Past all dollar for dollar, everything shakes out. Our revenue's on par, but it's all up
From the, okay.
$240,000.
Thank you, Steve.
You're
Thanks.
very welcome.
Real quick, sorry, I don't think I heard what does the 30% represent?
All things even, our net income, our take of all the BB sales.
So 30% margin?
30% margin?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Those are good numbers for food.
Thank you,
If
Mike.
you're netting 30% after labor and food, that's a good number.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
We believe so as well.
Jude, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. Are you done with your?
I'm done with the revenue output. What I'd like to talk about is highlighting a couple of the key events that we did on our catering side. As we approached AP reading, Gordon had us all primed up. We were ready to go for AP reading. It's the biggest event. We had the teams ready to go hand in hand. And as we looked through, we did our homework, right? We checked out where they were in Tampa. We checked out where they were in Cincinnati. We wanted to make sure that we had all the details because this massive group was coming in. And we learned a lot of things before they ever set foot on property, which they identified that we did our homework. So if you look at it, we had a contracted food and beverage minimum of 1.5 million. Our actual food and beverage were 1.7. RNC for Starbucks and Bagel Boulevard sitting at just under 50,000 for a total of 1.8 million. It was a great event for us. The educators that came into the city spent money in the city. They reported back to us tremendous feedback on our food. Some of the top revenue driving upsells, strategic premium beverage. People that are in sessions all day, they added on beverage. We were able to do that. We were able to add on lemonade, iced tea, sodas to the tune of an additional $50,000. We also did strategic menu engineering and margin experience. We wanted to make the menu something that could change and rotate. And it was important to them to keep the hot food hot and the cold food cold. I actually had a gentleman approach me and said, I've been coming to this for 11 years and I've never eaten a morsel of food until I came to Cleveland. And we actually look forward to seeing what the French toast casserole is going to be every day. So it's nice to hear those things when the team's working that hard. To give us that kind of accolades makes the team just that much stronger working for it. I did want to just share a couple of client feedbacks from AP Reading so that everybody understands. This one really struck me. The Levy team handled last-minute requests and changes with professionalism and grace. I'm especially grateful for the support in navigating and confirming the dietary and allergen details across more than 700 pages of BEOs. No small feat, and your diligence did not go unnoticed. Not to mention, I think Levy managed one of the smoothest day one AP reading breakfasts I've witnessed over the years. And I will tell you, it was every bit of 1,000 people and it came fast and furious, but we knew that day one was going to be big. So we were ready to go and we didn't have any hiccups. And Kim, who is the head of AP reading, was like, wow, you guys actually were the first person to actually get this correct. So we were very happy about that. I have some other ones, but I want to keep moving. So, with this event, we learned that clear label of dietary restrictions is critical. We need to scale accordingly. And we're proud of what we did this year, but as this is 3 more years on this deal, we'll only get better. We'll only get sharper in our labor and our food costs and quality. So it's very exciting. All right, we can go ahead and move to the next slide, please. So National Urban League, we've been talking about this event for quite some time leading up to it. It was a privilege to have the National Urban League in our city. Wonderful group. We had them contracted for a food and beverage minimum of 145,000. We actualized with 306,000, 111% increase. How do we do that? Collaborative effort in communication and sales. Jennifer Cooper, our director of sales, was in strategic contact with all the top contacts, and Urban League had no problem adding on and spending the money to do so. They're one of the kindest groups.
They added on any and everything, but we worked with them the best we possibly could and presented options so that we can maximize the revenue inside. We also did in RNC services, 25,000 in the food hall, and our affiliates and exhibitors, $24,935 for a total of $356,000 in additional revenue. Top upsells, beverage program enhancements again, iced tea, 13,000 in iced tea. Right, that's what they wanted on the table. We were able to make that happen quickly. Gala dinner upgrade from a single entree because there was preference choices. Jenna upgraded them to a duet entree, adding an additional 22,000 to that show. Clients feedback. I just want to read this one. This was hands down the best food and beverage experience we've had in a convention center. After our site visit in Cleveland, we were blown away by the 10-person tasting lunch, but did not think you could replicate that scale for 1,000. You proved us wrong. You exceeded our expectations and then some. And to me, I'm very proud of that because when people come for a tasting, it's a very controlled environment, right? But if we're able to do it at that scale and have them report back to us on that quality means everything. So for these events and part of being able to tap into the power of Levy and find out their food and beverage experience in Houston, find out what they were looking for, what their hot buttons were. We have all that. So it's like the homework is there. We have the answers to the test. All we have to do is deliver when they come on site. So that's my report out on those two top shows. Any questions on those?
If I could just share, the Levy team did an outstanding job. The last month's been very, very busy, and I'm sure you can hear the pride in Jude's voice when he talks about it. And it's the same across the board with his entire team. So it's a lot of fun to watch. Preparing for these large events is not always easy, but boy, they really handled it, knocked it out of the park. So thank you for that. Great job.
Thank you, Tim. You're remiss if I did not mention that the collaboration between ASM and Levy under one roof, we communicate at a high level. If there's something that is not going correct, it's not everything always goes well in hospitality. There's always little pivots, right? It's not when it will go wrong, it's what it goes wrong, what will you do and how will you react, right? Mike and I work very well together. If there's anything that pops up, we communicate on a high level. We're like ninjas. We have got the problem fixed before you even know it happens. So it really helps to have that level of increased communication. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to the National Urban League event. As someone who is part of the Urban League movement, I want to echo the sentiment. We hosted, I was next door at Hilton and we, leading into the convention, working with the team and, we had probably over 100 exhibitors, small businesses, nonprofit on the community day. So dealing with the convention, just being an observer, being that I'm on this board, was really a joy to see how things went, running such a complex convention with all the moving parts. It's almost like dealing with 100 and something plus organizations in one convention. And you guys did a marvelous job. I just want to echo what has been said.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much, Michael. It means a lot.
Yeah, I think Drew, the name of the game is being able to scale as the need arises, and I think that's a great testament to what you guys do. Mike, I don't know if you have more to go through, or is that?
Couple of slides.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
The sales side.
Okay, thanks, Jude. So over the last several months, Levy local leadership and ASM and Levy corporate leadership have gone through and really performed a comprehensive strategic review of our combined sales teams with Levy and ASM. I'd like to introduce Anna Nash. Anna is our Senior Vice President of Market Development. That's come today. She was instrumental in helping this process. Mr. Buck, how are you? And Chris as well, and also John Page was very involved as well. So we really looked at how we operate as a comprehensive team, and we really view it as it's one team. We focused on communication to make sure we were aligned on strategy, how we deal with leads when they come in, setting of goals, and making sure we were completely on the same page. Little things, not to go too granular, but joint sales meetings. Now we're meeting every week, every 2 weeks ago. What's in the funnel? What's in the pipeline? What opportunities are there? What can we go after? What do we have that we can upsell? Jude talked a lot about the upsell with AP reading. That's all part of strategy, working together as a team to really boost that and identify those opportunities and take advantage of. You're going to see as a board, when we go to present next board meeting, our annual plan and sales and marketing plan, we're going to all do that together as one big team, leading ASM. So it's a joint effort, right? And so I think you're really going to be able to see that in a product next board meeting. A couple of things we also looked at was the user experience, the customer experience. How do we improve lead time? So when a lead comes in, how are we responding? And are we responding quickly within 24 hours? Well, how do you do that? So we cross-trained our teams, right? So if a lead comes in, we can efficiently and effectively respond to that lead in 24 hours. We created an express meeting package. So if you have a 1, 2, or 3 meeting room event, you can get for a flat price, you get a bundled package for all your services. So you have your audio visual for one flat price, you have your food and beverage, and you have your space rental. One of the things we've heard as a convention center that you're too big, right? You can't adjust to maybe a small 1, 2, 3, 4 local corporate or community event. But in response to that, we've created this package to be able to go, here you go, here's your flat fee, you know what you're going to get, to really simplify that. We created a comprehensive estimate tool. A lot of times clients say, oh, I got to get a price from Levy. I need to get a price from the building. I need to get a price from Mills James. We created one estimate tool so quickly we can enter everything in and get it right to that client within those 24 hours. So some little things, getting a little granular there, but all those things lead to really improving the overall customer experience. We talk a lot about how we drive short-term business here. That is going to continue to be a key element of our success moving forward. Obviously, we work with Gordon and the tremendous team at Destination Cleveland at going after those big whales, if you will, the big events citywides, right? But in the year, for the year, that's really how you make up ground on your budget, right? And so kind of filling in those gaps, if you will, is critically important. So this strategy and coming together was all about achieving all three of those items. And we looked at it through the lens of clients don't necessarily care that, hey, Levy does food and beverage. Mills James, who's our audiovisual provider, does audiovisual. No, it's the convention center. It's one team. And so it's critically important to make sure we're completely aligned. So not sure, Anna or Chris, if you want to add anything, or Jude, but it was a tremendous process. We feel really good that we've got some great traction and we're going to be able to accelerate things moving forward.
I would only add to that this is the culmination of a lot of work. This process has been going on for months now, get to this point. And I appreciate ASM and Levy's corporate office because they supported the initiative to go down this road. I think we will see better results. To Mike's point, that Destination Cleveland does a lot of work to book the city and bring business, but we've got to fill, where we have opportunities. And this is why we, renovated this building to the tune of $50 million to give us those advantages. So great job. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it maybe a little bit differently, but in the sense of whether we like it or not, we're in a market we're in this market, right? So we can't control the weather. We can't control so if we do just as well as our competitors do in better climates, better in cities that have a name that is much more known for hospitality, we lose. We always have to look to how do we distinguish ourselves in different ways that we make up that difference. And we can't just do as well as our competitors. We have to do better because that's the only way we're going to succeed.
Agreed. If I could just add, we really focused on the site visits, right? And so when a client comes into town, working with Gordon and his team, and obviously Levy and our team, really nailing the site visit experience within these 4 walls and the city. It all ties in. It's the destination as a whole. But what we found is we can get them here. They love it. We walk the space. It really resonates. And we found that for those site visits, we usually turn about 70% of those. So the key is get them here, get them on the site visit, show them the building, and we can lock them up.
And the execution of the event that gets the reputation out that Cleveland is reliable and you'll have a successful event whenever you come.
Great. Yep. Thank you.
Good job. Next, production.
So real quick, touching on, obviously with the implementation of some of the strategies, working under, coming out of first quarter, I know we were under a little bit of mitigation with the cancellations. The sales team really, focused along with Levy. And year to date, as of June 30th, we've contracted 81 events. 56 of those were booked into 2025. 25 of those were booked for 2026 and beyond. We've received 275 leads, or we've worked on 275 leads. And we've also done 62 site inspections. So of those 81 events, 2.61 million in food, 54,000 hotel room nights, and 669,000 in rent. So again, the sales team, is laying the groundwork, not only for end of year, for the year to make up some of the stuff and get ahead, but also to set for the future. Next slide, Julie, which brings us to pace. And again, we've shown this slide a couple of times now. And it really ties into with the city, the Hilton, and us. You really can see when we're all successful, we're all successful. And when we're not, we're not. We're tied together. We've known for a while, 2026, we don't have the big citywides, the urban leagues, the National Association of Black Journalists. Some of our big repeats are not coming in 26. We've known for a while, Gordon's team has been ahead of the curve. They've put need dates into place. We've gone after everything. If you have a 26 in your dates, we're going after it with a vengeance to try and just make sure that we're mitigating what we can do in 26. But you can still see paces down for 26, 27, and 28 are looking good. 29 is a little off, but I will say one of the factors for 29 is AP Reading, their last contracted year right now is 28. So you are losing about 16,000 room nights in 29 that were contracted in 25, 6, 7, and 8. So that is causing a little bit of a bump. But it does kind of, again, it really shows the relationship between the three big players in the city as far as, aligned efforts, aligned work. Nobody's standing out as one's doing well and two are doing bad or vice versa. We're all in the boat together. And then talking with the 64 events we did, economic impact, we are a little over $50 million. And again, touching on what Tim said at the very beginning in regards to the IX events. Yes, we are talking some of the IX events, but our focus will always be economic impact, bringing things in that meet our booking guidelines, that bring room nights to the hotel community, that support the hospitality community. We'll make strategic decisions on the appropriate IX events, but the focus will always be to drive economic impact. We average right about 100 million a year in economic impact. So 50 million through June, I think is, my math's not great, but 50 million through half the year times 2, I think we're right on pace to kind of go where we need to go. And, again, this is our focus, this is what we do. And I think with some of the events we've had come in July and August, we're continuing to do exactly what we need to do to support the hospitality community. Next slide, Julie. I know Jude touched on a couple of these, but I just want to touch on, we're not slowing down. Computer Science Teachers Association just left the building, turned right around. Urban League that Jude spoke about. Food Protection is coming into the building now, followed by National Association of Black Journalists. All 4 of those events are first-time events. So I give a lot of credit to Gordon and his team because they went out, found those events, brought them in, and those aren't short-term. We laid the base with those events for 25 to make sure we set up 25 to be really successful. Those are major events. And you're going to see the numbers in the financial at the third quarter board meeting on the success of those events, not just food and beverage, but what they're driving on economic impact. But we're not stopping. And then you go into Global Polymer Expo. That's every 2 years through 2029. BFG is our largest annual every year. Dam safety, we put that on here. Not only is it a great event, but it's also the first client that booked the atrium back in 2023 during construction, and they only booked specifically for the atrium. They said they would not have booked here if the atrium, they booked it basically during construction. They were just here last week for a site. and reiterated that without the atrium, they would have gone to any other city. But they trusted the renderings, trusted the team to deliver. So that's going to be a great event in September. But you can see we are bang through into October. And then Plastics World again is another repeat annual that we're very lucky to have towards the end of November. So
I have a question.
yes, sir.
On the previous chart that Tim showed in terms of number of downtown hotel rooms. No, not this one, just on the previous PowerPoint. So stay on the page where you were on the rooms. Yeah, perfect. You showed that we have about 2,500 rooms in downtown hotel, correct? Tim?
Hold on, let's see.
Yeah, that was the number that I remember.
Yeah, that was on the graph. Like,
And that stuck out to me as being the lowest among all our peer cities. With the largest event on this page, which is the International Association of Food Protection, and you have 1,300 peak nights. How does that play out in those events? Practically, are the downtown hotels able to accommodate all the attendees in the downtown area, or do people end up going outside downtown to be able to get a room? How is that played? Is that a big constraint, being that we are low in downtown hotel compared to our peers?
I'm going to ask Gordon for an opinion. He's the expert on this. So Gordon, I guess the question is,
to this group specifically, room downtown for Tuesday or Wednesday next week, the lowest rate I can find is $7.99 a night. You can get a room for $3.89 at the Intercon, but yeah, that group. So when we get to that threshold of 1,300 peak rooms, it really does compress the hotels downtown, and not only the ones that are booking around the center, but it really impacts like the Ritz-Carlton. I was trying to find rooms for another group, and they were offering almost $1,000 a night for standard room. So it shows the impact it has, but we actually, right, we actually have, no, it's absolutely what we want. But it said 2,500 rooms, like our sweet spot's between 1,000 and 2,000 peak. The easiest example to give for how, like, the biggest possible whale we can book, one of them was ASAE, right? So that was 3,800 peak rooms. That took 16 downtown hotels and 90 to 95% of their inventory. So it's doable to do that. We also booked that 5 years out. The other group that we have on the horizon is literally in 24, it could be in 24 months from now, would be the Shriners group, the Egyptian order group, where they are taking up that same amount of hotels, and they will be around 4,000 peak rooms. So everybody's on board on this one, all the hotels and so forth. But it takes quite a bit of an effort, and our smaller hotels do not like booking outside of a year or two. That's a challenge for us. The larger hotels are fine. So.
Michael, to add to that, I think to Gordon's point, 2,500 total rooms. Gordon, when he's got a group that's 1,200 rooms peak night or more, he's got to reach out to multiple hotels. And I've observed that he spends a lot of time working with hotels to get them to commit to some of those groups. Some of it plays into the nature of the group, how far out they're booking, and things like that. So once we start looking at groups that are larger than that, it becomes a bigger challenge. Sometimes organizations don't mind spreading their rooms out to multiple hotels. Other groups that are 1,200 rooms want to keep it as a tight-knit package as much as possible. So it becomes a complicated puzzle that he's got to work through to really put some of those larger groups into place.
Okay.
That answer?
Yeah, that answers it. Is there any plan? Would you recommend that as a city we could use additional downtown hotel from an economic development standpoint?
Michael, Majid and I were just having this conversation before the meeting. This is going to be part of our conversation at the board meeting, where we're embarking on some different analysis to figure out what would that recommendation be on behalf of the CCCFDC. So I shared that competition slide earlier because it's the start of the process that I've been working on. And so from this point further, the Excel sheet, Julie, sorry.
And there are some projects out there right now that are in various stages of planning, smaller ones.
The smaller projects out there, I mean, there's been discussion of, additional hotels.
There's a few going forward, but this is a constant conversation. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've been at the outset of the planning.
3 years ago too, the one that we did a study on this.
Yes.
Right.
It's from a local advisor, hotel advisors company. And they had their thoughts.
I'd like to defer that if we can to the retreat, because it's a much bigger question. I think it's not just a question, you have to have the right formula. So it's not just a question of adding hotel rooms and then you added more hotel rooms, but then you don't have the use for them except for 2-3 times a year. What do you do? So it's the chicken or the egg. You add more hotel rooms, but then how do you activate those? It's a bigger question, I think, that needs a lot of thought. And at the end of the day, there are other players that we don't control the funding for who have to make the decision on those questions, but we could be very much involved in providing them the guidance that we can
There's
provide.
also the nature of the cooperative agreements that are reached.
On-
And there's
on
a
that.
lot to it. It's a complicated formula.
Got it. Okay,
All right.
thank you. We'll
Thank
defer
you.
to the retreat.
Thank you. Any other questions from Mike or Jude? Do you have more slides?
Yeah, real quick, and just to touch on what Majid said about while we've got to do things better, we've got to do things not only during the site, but when people are here. But then our organizer survey from the groups that have been here this year, overall experience 90, quality 100%, overall condition 88, meeting needs 100%. So when we're getting people here, we're getting it right. Levy, ASM, the entire convention center team. This building was just recognized in a recent call as the top large convention center in the company year to date for overall event organizer combined score. So we're not just bringing the business in, but the people that actually are interacting with the clients. And that's something I want to call out because it's the people who are doing the work, that are servicing the groups, that are taking care, that are cooking the food, et cetera, that are leading to these scores. It's not me, Mike, and Jude. It's the team that is leading to, an overall quality of 100% condition. I just want to make sure that, that's pointed out because it's a lot easier. I say this every time, a lot easier to rebook somebody than it is to find new pieces of business. So that, and I just one more slide, social media wise, we're doing very well. Social media, we're continuing to gain every month. One thing at the very end, the bottom one, Jude mentioned Bagel Boulevard, just opened, not even a year. And, it's already up, 246 followers since they've opened. We're doing weekly and monthly promotions with everything. So if you're not following us on our social media channels, please do. We need the followers. But that is it from sales. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Any last call for questions? All right. With that, I'll turn it over to Larry for the Hilton update.
Thanks. Good morning. Just looking at national trends, things are slowing in the lodging industry. RevPAR in June nationwide was down 1.2% below 2024 due to a decline in occupancy and a slight increase in rate. Year to date through June, RevPAR is up 0.8% above 2024. Looking at year-end forecasts, all the prognosticators did their mid-year updates for the industry, and they all lowered their forecasts. Basically, right now, RevPAR is 0.8 to 1%. The key factors identified, no surprises here. A lot of economic uncertainty, decline in international travel, which can be significant in some markets, particularly around the borders and gateway cities, and then declines in government travel, which again can vary by market. If we look at Cleveland down 2.2%. I would say this is coming off of a very strong 2024 year. So in some ways this was to be expected, but the decline does lag, the U.S. average and other regional markets. When we look downtown, downtown hotels RevPAR down about 2.5%, primarily coming through ADR. That big negative bar you see for April, that's comparing April 25 to April of 24, which was NCAA Women's Final Four in the Eclipse last year. So again, somewhat to be expected there as we look on a year-over-year comparison. Looking at some other trends, passenger count through Cleveland Airport down slightly compared to last year. Mentioned before here, the AP reading event certainly was significant for the city and for the hotels. As Travis outlined, continue to start seeing that increase in the booking window. I'll say 2+ years out, is seeing nice volume and activity there. As Jeff mentioned, certainly some hotel development underway downtown with some renovations, new hotels, repositionings. The Hilton is just recently wrapping up a renovation, and the Fidelity Hotel opened up recently as well. So certainly some fair amount of new supply kind of in varying stages of development. Any questions?
This is more of a request, I think, for future presentations. Is going back to the old days when I was with the county and we were talking through building the convention center hotel and the rationale for it and the council meetings. And I think there was a lot of discussion back and forth in terms of how it's a convention center hotel. And part of the theory is, you have setup time, downtime in the convention center. So we were filling that time with the Hilton, and sort of they complement each other between the Hilton and the convention center, the coordination. I think it'll be helpful for the board to sort of get an idea in the future a little bit in terms of how that's working between the convention center and the Hilton. The days when you have event, like sort of the kind of events that you have, when you have them, when we have them, just kind of an idea to see where we are on some of this stuff, because that's always been part of the initial vision when the Hilton was built. And I think we just sort of, we sit on the board, but I kind of like sometimes we don't know that. We know it's happening. We just don't know where it is. So that's, I think, it would be very helpful for us to get some of that information. Go ahead.
Let us and Tammy get together and we'll put something together for the October board meeting.
Thank you. With that, there's no other old new business. The only thing I would just say is I want to urge every board member to, I think everybody has RSVP'd. The October 24th meeting is our critical meeting, and immediately afterwards, we're going to have the board retreat. As you can see, there's some very big questions, big picture issues. We have a lot of planning, a lot of thought to put into it. We want it to be a very, very substantive retreat. Tim has been working, Julia have been working really hard on coordinating for that retreat. So I want to make a special request to everybody. Anything that we can do to make sure that we don't miss that retreat would be very, very helpful for everybody to be there. And if nobody has any other comments.
Hey, one comment, because we've lost sight of this over the years. That October meeting is also the annual meeting.
Yes.
So there's going to be a lot of things that happen at the annual meeting that we need to do at that meeting. So, right.
So with that, both the meeting and the retreat, I would ask everybody humanly possible to be there. And maybe we all love technology, but I think that's the one meeting a year where we want to make every effort to all be here in person. And with that, there's no other issues. I'll move to adjourn. We're so adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.